Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? Again, this is RJ Stevenson with another day of the revival of hope. I'm excited about what God is doing in the midst of us. Listen, hey to you, Lexus. Hey, Pastor Craig Robinson, how you doing there? Kirby Hamilton, what's up, Funk Doctor? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Listen. It's another day for the Hour of Power. This is our Revival of Justice, another revival series that we're doing here at a new St. Paul. We're on every day at 9 a.m. Morning Glory, prayer and intercession. We're on at 12 noon for our Hour of Power, and we're on at 7 p.m. for our Word and Worship experience. And man, today's been a strong day. We got a lot going on. I want to remind you, first of all, that we've got a couple of things happening. Hey, Montreal Caldwell, how you doing, man? Good to see you there. Thank you for watching. Queen Evelyn Bailey, I see you watching as well. Thank you so much. I want to tell you, remind you of some things in addition to our format in terms of our schedule. Tonight at 7 p.m., I'm gonna be on doing Walking Through the Word on Wednesday. Tonight at 7 with Reverend Cheryl Farrell, my friend here, my sister here at she's a pastor over at New Bethel AME Church here in Tampa. We've been walking through the book of Esther. I'm talking about Easter. The book of Esther, seeking justice for a time such as this. That's going to be tonight at 7 p.m. You don't want to miss that. This is our third week of that series. It's going to be a 10-part series. Week number 3. We're in Esther, chapter number 3 tonight. And the story is getting juicy. If you've missed session 1 and 2, you might want to go back and look at those sessions for the last 2 Wednesdays. We do this every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I'm telling you, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. We get together and we interact, and that's always interesting because we just interesting. All right. So join us tonight at 7 for that. Tomorrow. I'll be posting out some flyers tomorrow as well. Tomorrow we have a strong schedule. At noon, we're gonna have again the writer and director of Justice on Trial, Pastor Chad Lawson Cooper. We'll also have a few other invited guests. You may know some of them. I don't want to tell you who it is because I don't want to spoil it for you. But a flyer will be coming out later tonight, later today, giving you exactly who's going to be on tomorrow. Bishop Rudolph McKissick is going to be on with us. Todd Bridges, one of the actors in the movie, is going to be with us. Harry Lennox from NBC's The Blacklist. He was Dresser in 5 Heartbeats. He's going to be there with us. A couple of other pastors are going to be there with us talking about this Justice on Trial movie. You don't want to miss that conversation. And then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, another conversation. It's going to be myself, joined by my brother Norman Harris. He is a civil rights lawyer here in Tampa, as well as Dr. Antipas Harris. He is the dean and president of the Jake Divinity School, and Derek Dowdwell, Esquire. He's the owner of law offices of Daryl Dowdwell from Columbus, Georgia, another lawyer. We're going to be talking about justice in America. We're talking about justice and reparations as it regards the focus and theme of the movie. So hey, I might as well. Maybe you haven't seen the trailer as of yet. I want to show you what all this movie business is that we're talking about. Here's the trailer for the movie Justice on Trial. Take a look at this.
After 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, African Americans are suing the U.S. Department of Justice for reparations and damages.
Let's deliberate these facts. Now, the Justice Department is against African Americans.
The amount could be in the several trillions of dollars.
The United States does not look kindly upon individuals who do such acts. And as I sat here, I realized he is Trayvon Martin, and Trayvon Martin is him.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to bring in Alita Ross, a.k.a. Harriet Tubman.
They're supposed to be iconic time travel witnesses.
Over the past 400 years of denying people a fair hearing.
Unless the government agrees to be sued, it can't be. And guess what? The government does not agree. So case closed.
Man, it's an awesome movie. I just want to tell you, awesome movie. Talks about reparations. It gives the story and life of Emmett Till, story and life of Harriet Tubman, the story and life of Medgar Evers. And it takes those three iconic individuals in our American history and talks about what they went through as a defending case for the need and the need and right to reparations here in America. Man, it's an awesome movie, and I look forward to everyone being able to see that. The movie is going to come out on July the 4th. It's going to be we're going to be able to do digital downloads, and New St. Paul and other churches and ministries throughout the country get an opportunity to prepare for that. So again, if your church or ministry is interested in participating on that level, please let me know. I would love to connect you and your pastor and your church with the opportunity to use this movie as a fundraiser to raise funds and raise interest about what it is that we're talking about, this conversation about racial injustice and reparations. So I got all that out the way. This weekend, don't want you to miss this. This Sunday, we got a lot going on here in New St. Paul. I know some of y'all are wondering what these things are behind me. These are called Tower Gardens. And on this Sunday, I'm going to show you the flyer. This Sunday, we're doing Come Witness Another Miracle on 42nd Street. Myself, the church, New St. Paul AME Church, and our NSP Cares, our Community Development Corporation, invites you to the 42nd Street Community Garden of Miracles. Here we grow again. Join us for this Father's Day celebration, Sunday, June 21st, 2020. At 11 a.m., we're going to be doing praise in the parking lot. Yeah, we're going to be doing worship outside this Sunday. At 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing the Garden of Miracles. The ribbon cutting ceremony for the Garden of Miracles is going to be at 2 o'clock. We're going to teach you how to learn how aeroponic tower farms can be used as a sustainable source of nutrition for our community. It's going to be an awesome event taking place this week, this Sunday. Everybody needs to come wearing your mask because we're going to be still social distancing. Meet us here at the church at 6403 42nd Street here in Tampa. Of course, you can also get more information on our website, newstpaul.org. This is also the kickoff event for our 150th church anniversary celebration, and I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited too. One of the things that we're going to do on the day of, we're going to allow people from the community to plant some seedlings as well, so they can get their hands in building this garden that's going to cause us to have a sustainable source of nutrition for our community. It's not just about what we got going on here at New St. Paul, but thank God that our church was blessed to be a blessing. Kirby Hamilton, absolutely. I'll reach out to you as soon as I finish this so we can talk about how you can get involved where you are, man. I appreciate you. Yesterday was an interesting day. We were outside prepping the space where the garden is going to be. And while I was prepping the space yesterday, I was learning so many lessons from the Holy Spirit while I was taking these vines apart. Man, if you missed Hour Power yesterday, it was really quick. It wasn't an hour. It's about 27 minutes. I got on and I was talking about what I was talking about. Then I went right back to work. But it was a very impactful moment. And then last night, I took it a step further and talked more about the vinage and what it is that we're supposed to do according to Micah chapter 6. We're supposed to do mercy, and we're supposed to be fair to people. Today, I want to talk about what happens when life's not fair. You ever thought about that? It's often asked, the question often asked, why do bad things happen to good people? And I figured for a little while today, we'll talk about what happens or what we as Christians are supposed to do when life just isn't fair. Take a moment to look at this video, and I'll be right back.
I've never heard a sane person say life is fair. It's not fair. It never has been. It wasn't designed to be, and it never will be. But it can and should be viewed as a blessing. It can and should be viewed as a wonderful adventure that we only get for a brief moment. So we must make the most of it while we are here. Things will break. It's okay. Things will fall apart. It's okay. Your plans won't work out. It's okay. Blessings will turn into challenges and you'll never know the difference. It's okay. It won't be fair. Ever. It's okay. Nothing will be handed to you. It's okay. People will do you wrong, even some you trust. It's okay. You'll let yourself down. It's okay. You'll lose people you love. It's okay. You will fail. You will lose. It's okay. It's okay because you'll have perspective. It's okay because you'll live with gratitude. You'll live with integrity. When you fail, you'll learn. When you lose, you'll be gracious and more determined to win next time. When you lose someone, you'll remember that you really won. You won the time you had with them, the blessing of them in your life. It's okay. It is more than okay. Life is whatever you make it. Make it great.
Man, did you hear that? When I found that today, I was like, absolutely. I know where we're going right now. What do you do? Y'all got any ideas? Today we're gonna talk about this. What to do when life's not fair. We'll talk about what to do when life's not fair. And we're going to use 2 Samuel chapter number 9 to discuss this. We're going to do 2 Samuel chapter number 9 to discuss this topic. What to do when life's not fair. What to do when life's not fair. Let's take a moment to pray. Father, thank you for your word. Even in this hour of power, we believe that you've allowed us to break in our day from whatever it is that we're doing so that you can build us up and empower us for the journey ahead. Today, God calls us to know more about who we are by digging into your word. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. What to do when life's not fair? There is a strong life's not fair story in the Bible. It's at 2 Samuel chapter number 9. And this story is not a story that we normally tell. This is not the story about David and Jonathan. This is not the story about Samson. This is not Joseph and his brothers. This story it does have to do with King David, but it's an interesting story about how David as a king extended mercy and grace to the family of his enemies. Yeah. David as king extends mercy and grace on the family of his enemy. Do you remember who David's big enemy was? Not Goliath. I'm talking about King. I'm talking about David. David extended mercy and grace to the family of Saul. Remember King Saul? Remember when it was that the people, David had been going out as one of the soldiers in the army, and the people were lifting David up because he was killing this many people, and Saul was only killing this many people, and the people were really lifting David up. And it is that Saul got upset and threw a javelin, threw a big spear at David. And then David ran and hid in the caves and the mountains. And then David had opportunities to kill Saul, but wouldn't take his life. He just let Saul know that, you know, I could get you if I want to. But where we're finding ourselves now, Saul is long gone. Saul is passed away, and David is now the king. We're talking about what to do when life's not fair. In 2 Samuel chapter number 9. All right. Here's the story. I don't want to tell you too much about the story. I want us to read through it in the Bible. Let's do that right now. Here's the story. It says, this is 2 Samuel chapter number 9. It says, one day David asked, David the king, is there anyone left of Saul's family? If so, I'd like to show him some kindness in honor of Jonathan. Jonathan was David's friend. Jonathan was Saul's son. Yeah, imagine that. David's friend is the son of his enemy. What a mess. It said, verse 2, it happened that a servant from Saul's household named Ziba was there. They called him into David's presence. The king asked him, are you Ziba? Yes, sir, he replied. The king asked, is there anyone left from the family of Saul to whom I can show some godly kindness? Is there anybody left from my enemy's family that I can show them some godly kindness? Ziba told the king, yes, there is Jonathan's son, lame in both feet, means the boy can't walk. David says, where is he? They say he's living at the home of Machir, son of Amiel in Lodebar. Okay. David said, King David didn't lose a minute. He sent and got him from the house of Machir, the son of Amiel in Lodebar. Let's go to verse 6. When Mephibosheth, that's the son of Jonathan, who was the son of Saul. So this is Saul's grandson. This is the grandson of David's enemy. When Mephibosheth came before David, he bowed deeply, abasing himself, honoring David. David spoke his name, Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth said, yes, sir. David said, don't be frightened. I'd like to do something special for you in memory of your father, Jonathan. To begin with, I'm returning to you all the properties of your grandfather Saul. Furthermore, from now on, you'll take all your meals at my table. Verse 8 says, shuffling and stammering, not looking him in the eye, Mephibosheth said, who am I that you pay attention to a stray dog like me? David then called Ziba, Saul's right-hand man, and told him everything that belonged to Saul and his family, I've handed over to your master's grandson. You and your sons and your servants will work his land and bring in the produce provisions for your master's grandson. Mephibosheth himself, your master's grandson, from now on will take all his meals at my table. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. That's a lot of people that's going to eat at this table. Verse 11 says, all that my master, the king, has ordered his servant, answered Ziba, your servant will surely do. And verse 12 says, and Mephibosheth ate at David's table just like one of the royal family. Mephibosheth also had a small son named Micah. All who were part of Ziba's household were now the servants of Mephibosheth. Verse 13, Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, taking all his meals at the king's table. He was lame in both feet. Man, what a story. 2 Samuel 9 is a story that shows how through godly kindness, as David said, people can be restored. Yeah. The backstory to this is David goes to get the kinfolk, the family, the descendants of someone who tried to do him harm. And because God moved on David, the Bible says, according to Paul, that David was a man after God's own heart. And we see that heart working out in the midst of us right here. We see the heart of a king. We see the heart of David working out in front of us. Can you imagine that the grandson of the person who tried to kill you, not only do you spare that man's life, because David was the king. David could have easily said, hey, go find all of the descendants of Saul and kill them dead. And nobody wouldn't have said a word because he's the king. But no, David says, go and find me a descendant. Go find somebody. Go find me a descendant of Saul and bring him to me. And we find out what his modus operandi was. We find out what his motivation was. We find out that David didn't want to do him harm because of what had been done to him in his past. David has a whole nother perspective on life. Now it's years and years later. David has gone from being a shepherd boy. David initially met Saul when he went out to fight Goliath. David met Saul again as a harp player as he played the evil spirits away from Saul. David met Saul again as a grown man who had become a very powerful soldier in the army. David met Saul as Saul's son-in-law when David was given the hand of Michal for defeating Goliath. Yeah, this is an interesting story about how all this is packed in together, because Saul wasn't just David's enemy. Saul was David's father-in-law. Saul was the father of David's best friend, Jonathan. Man, it's interesting somehow how family members, how they can treat us. It's interesting somehow how people who should know our hearts mistake our intentions. It is interesting how David, who had been a person who would protect the king, was the person that the king saw a target on David's back and tried to throw that javelin through David. Yeah, it's interesting how things turn sometimes. Sometimes you've had friends and family members in your life that because of a misunderstanding, because they misinterpreted a simple text message, because they listened to somebody else tell them about your character rather than asking you yourself, because they thought about you like they thought about themselves, they got you all wrong. They got your intentions twisted. They thought you came to do harm to them when you really came to do good. And because of them, they opened their mouth to try to kill you because of what they thought you were trying to do. They went and said something to someone else about you that tore up your character because of what they thought you wanted to do to them. They blocked the blessing for you out of envy and hate and malice and strife. Yeah, sometimes it is the people who we love the most can hurt us real bad. We're talking about what to do when life's not fair. Let's talk about this man Mephibosheth. We've talked about David enough. What are we talking about in terms of Mephibosheth? Why is Mephibosheth an interesting character in the story? Well, one, the Bible twice, between verses 1 and 13 and 2 Samuel chapter 9, the Bible twice refers to Mephibosheth as being lame in both feet. Mephibosheth, the son of a former king, Mephibosheth, the son of the king's best friend, that Mephibosheth was lame in both his feet. Can you imagine what it must be like to be lame in both of your feet? Oh yeah, to not be able to walk around on a daily basis, to be lame on your feet, to have to depend on somebody else to move you from place to place. lame in both feet. Meaning that, watch this, lame in both feet mean that the feet are there. It didn't say that the boy was born without feet. It says that he was lame in both feet. Remember, those of you who were with us yesterday for the Hour of Power, I talked about how the only way you know what kind of vine it is by looking at the fruit. His feet, these feet on Mephibosheth, they ain't got no fruit. He's lame in both feet. It looks like he is a stately person. It looks like, because his grandfather Saul, the Bible says that he was goodly to look upon. He stood head and shoulders above everybody else. So I imagine that if Mephibosheth got that king DNA, that he looks like he should be a well and healthy person. He should have the best education because he's the king's grandson. He should have the best of all worlds because he's in that lineage of royalty. But there's a characteristic about him that he didn't do to himself. The Bible doesn't tell us how it happened, but all we know for certain is that he's got these feet that don't work. Man, can you imagine being royalty and can't walk? Think about it. During the coronation, during the king's celebrations, during the time and seasons where they're celebrating, you the one in the family that everybody else got to take care of. You're the one in the family that you should be on the head table with everybody else. But when they have to go through what it takes to put you in the position where your family honor is, it takes more work for people to honor you because we got to carry you. Man, he's lame in both feet. Mephibosheth is nowhere close to Jerusalem. How do we know? He's no longer residing in the holy city because David tells them, go find him. And where did they find him? Living in the home of Machir, son of Amiel, in Lodebar. Where is Lodebar? Lodebar is a place of no regard. Lodebar is a place that does not produce anything significant. Lodebar is not living behind the gates in the nice subdivision. Lodebar is living on the side of the city that the city forgot. Lodebar is living on one of them back streets where nobody wants to go. Have you ever lived on one of them streets where the pizza people won't deliver? Well, Uber be like, no, we ain't going back there. Lodebar is in that kind of place. And imagine what it would be for this grandson of a king to have grown up in a palace where granddaddy was, and now that there's another king, he's of no regard. Nobody care about him. They had to call Ziba. They had to ask David, the king had to ask around to find out where this boy is, and he is out there living where God knows where. Yeah, cable ain't even out there. He ain't got no Wi-Fi. Ain't no cell phone service out there in Lodebar. He is living in a place that does not identify who he really is. And I wonder today, have you ever lived in a place in your life that does not identify where you are? Have you read in the Bible where Jeremiah said that before the world was formed, God knew you and called you out by name and numbered the hairs on your head and gave you a job and an assignment to do. And here you are living in a place that sounds like Lodebar. Oh yeah, you've been to college, you got you a good education. Yep, you had good jobs and all this kind of stuff. And one day something happened in your life and now you don't want to even tell anybody where you live at. You don't want to give nobody your address because your current situation does not identify who God made you to be. My God. Your present circumstance does not speak to who God is in your life. It doesn't speak to what God has done for you. It doesn't speak to what you've been able to have. It doesn't speak to who you are and how blessed you are in your life. Your present situation does not speak to what God says about you. And now you find yourself in a place called Lodebar, in a mentality called Lodebar, in a season called Lodebar. And I want to know, what do you do when life is not fair? I had a young man call me this morning. Somebody really close to me called me. Pastor, listen, I'm upset. I'm frustrated. I'm working on this job. And I walked off my job last night because the manager told me to shut up. I told you to shut up. He said, yeah, he told me to shut up. How dare that man disrespect me? I said, okay, he told you to shut up. Interesting. Because I know, he said, now, Pastor, this is different, because he knew I was going with this. This different, Pastor. You told me to shut up before, but that man don't know me. I said, oh, okay, because, you know, when I told you to shut up, you didn't quit working with me. You know, you listen to me tell you to shut up and you stop talking because you recognize that me telling you to shut up, I had to tell you in a way that you could understand me, because I was trying to give you hints and flags and signs, and you kept just talking and talking and talking. So finally, I just had to tell you to shut up. But this situation was different, Pastor, because this man don't know me. This white man told me to shut up last night, and I ain't gonna take it, Pastor. I'm gonna have his job. I said, Lord have mercy. You gonna have a man job because he told you to shut up? And I didn't want to take the time to ask him what it was exactly that he said, because I know that in my life there have been some times where somebody needed to tell me to shut up too. But because the young man was so, he was passionate about what was going on, I was trying to be a good pastor, and just hear him out, and just, so at the end I was like, hey, do you need a job? Because if you need a job, you might want to just shut up and go to work, because you need that check. So sometimes you got to do stuff that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. There's a whole nother, that's a word for somebody. Sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. So this was a situation again where somebody's felt like their life was not treated fairly. Man, let's look what David does to this young man. Pull the scripture back up, RJ. There you go. When David asked, is there anybody from the house of Saul who I can show some godly kindness? Yes, there's Jonathan's son, lame in both feet. Where is it? Living in the home of Machir, son of Amiel in Lodebar. Hold on. He's living in a home of Machir, son of Amiel in Lodebar. This man ain't even living in his own house. Do you hear me? He ain't even living in a place that's his. And because of his infirmity, because this man is lame in both feet, it is a bigger indication that he has to be taken care of by somebody else, because he can't get a place of his own. Man, that's a heat bit of a situation. To now go from living in the palace where people are taking care of me to living in a place that I don't even own. I can't even live by myself because of what I got on me, this infirmity. My goodness. Let's keep going. When Mephibosheth saw the son of Jonathan, who was the son of Saul, came before David, he bowed deeply, abasing himself, honoring David. Now, for a moment, imagine what that must have been like. You the joker that replaced my granddaddy. Even deeper. Want to go deeper with that? You the joker that caused my daddy not to be the king. If my daddy were the king, you would have never been, it had never been like this. You living in the house that I should have been in. But look, the scripture says that when he came before David, he didn't come with no attitude. He didn't come with arrogance. He didn't come with pride. He bowed deeply, abasing himself, honoring David. Now we gotta look at this for a second, because there might be some reasons why he bowed himself deeply. Because it did just say that he bowed. Yeah, Jamila, I'm just saying what I'm saying. It didn't say that he just bowed. He bowed deeply. And I can imagine that as he bowed deeply, it looked a little different from just, konnichiwa. It looked a little different from what we see as giving somebody a head nod. If he bowed deeply, that means, one, he put in additional effort. He made it known that he was revering the king. If he bowed deeply, it also meant that he gave this king the respect of a king, which meant that, watch this, if he felt like his father was next in line to be the king, and then this man who ain't even a piece of their family lineage is now made the king, guess what Jonathan never did? Jonathan never spoke up negatively about David. Jonathan never raised his son to feel like David was a bad man because David was in a place that legacy would say that he deserved to be. Do you hear what I'm saying? Jonathan never told his son, because most of us end up with our kids hating people and disliking people because our kids see how we don't like them. Yeah. Our kids, our children take on the attributes of their parents. And a lot of times, if your parent has an enemy, you grow up having an enemy because your parent had an enemy. You don't even know why you don't like the person, but you know your mama didn't fool with him and you don't fool with him either. And when your kids come around them, you tell your kids not to fool with them too because you don't like what happened with your mama and you don't even really know the whole story. Your mama took their boyfriend, but because the boyfriend went back to them, don't worry about it. Anyway, there are people in our lives that we sometimes cause our children to disrespect because of our own personal experiences. But here we're finding out because Mephibosheth bowed deeply, we can imagine that Jonathan never put salt on David's name. And he abased himself. What does abasing mean? Abasing, in the New Testament, we hear Paul talk about how he's been abased and abound. So we take from those context clues, in verse number 6, that he made himself of no grandiose. He didn't come in acting like, hey, y'all, this my granddaddy's spot. This the house that my family grew up in. Hey, security guard, I know you. What's up, dog? No, he abased himself. He didn't make no big deal about himself. And said that he was honoring David. So David speaks to him. David spoke his name, said Mephibosheth. He said, watch this. Yes, sir. Then David says, don't be frightened. Why would Mephibosheth have possibly been frightened? Because as we found out, even tonight, when we talk about Esther, if you go in the king's presence, it can either be a good day or a bad day. Ain't nobody said that just because you done came to the king that he calling you to give you something. No, he could have been calling you to take something like your life. But David says to him, don't be frightened. I'm trying to teach a little bit. David says to him, don't be frightened. He said, look, I'd like to do something special for you in honor of your father, Jonathan. Man, I can't even get through this whole story without stopping. It's like driving down the street, pumping brakes. Well, look, it says, I'd like to do something special for you in honor of your father, Jonathan. I'm getting ready to do something for you because of how good your daddy was to me. I'm getting ready to bless you, and you ain't even done nothing. I'm going to bless you because of how good your father was. And sometimes we are blessed by association. Sometimes God blesses our lives not because of something that we've done, but because of something my mom and daddy did. Yeah. I remember back in the day, when you meet somebody and they're older in your community, back when our community was a village, it ain't no village no more. Back then they ask you who your folk is, who you kin to, who your people is. And sometimes based on who your people are, based on your last name, you get favored in places because of how your daddy was. Your daddy was a football star in high school, so people take care of you. Your mama was good to somebody. You don't even know, you don't even think highly of your mother, but because of something she did in her life and legacy, somebody has favor on you. That's what's going on here with Mephibosheth and David. David says, I'd like to do something special for you in memory of your father Jonathan. To begin with, I'm going to give you back everything that your granddaddy had. But what you talking about? I'm going to give you back all the properties of your grandfather Saul. Now watch this. What does that mean? If David is going to give Mephibosheth back all the properties of his granddaddy Saul, that means that all Saul's property were taken. Why was Saul's properties taken? Because Saul was no longer the king. David was the king. And because those properties belonged to the king, the next person in line were the ones that received that inheritance, not the son. You hear what I'm saying? You get that? Yeah. Because David was the little shepherd boy that was behind everybody else tending to the sheep and was not the one that was out front, that was even his father's pick. And Samuel came and anointed David to be king. That little runt boy who everybody made go tend to the sheep because they didn't want to have nothing to do with him, that becomes the person who God says, look, Saul, you acting up, you tripping, but I already have anointed your replacement. Your replacement's on the way. Your replacement, Saul, is going to come and play the evil spirits away from you. Your replacement is going to come and be a victor in your army, but he's going to be the one that is going to replace you. And so because of that, Jonathan was never able to touch his daddy's inheritance. And because Jonathan, the son, couldn't have his daddy's inheritance, the grandson didn't even know what the inheritance was. But here now, David wants to do something special for Mephibosheth, the little lame boy that got broke legs. Now he finna get all of the properties of a king. Man, God is a good God. Yes, he is. Here we go. Furthermore, now, watch this. Favor. From now on, you'll take all your meals at my table. Mephibosheth asked this question. Hold on, king, you ain't trying to do me something bad now. Who am I that you're paying attention to, a stray dog like me? Then, just in case Mephibosheth gets a moment where he feels like, you know, I'm not worthy of all of this, David says, hey, Ziba, I want you to make sure that everything that belonged to Saul and his family, I want you to make sure that you take care of all of that. You and your son, Ziba. Now, that's crazy. Now, watch this. Ziba had formerly been a person that was one of Saul's attendees. He had been in Saul's camp, but he stayed around because David is now king. David says to one of his now servants, hey, I want you to, and your job from now on, you and your sons and your servants, everybody in your household to take care of this man. Yeah. All y'all finna take care of him. I know you used to living over here in the palace and all that kind of stuff. You finna go and make sure that all of his affairs are taken care of. Now, it says, watch this. Watch how many people the Bible says that David put in this man's care. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. 35 men plus Ziba is getting ready to take care of the one that people who for their whole lives have been picking on. Yeah. Imagine what it must have been or felt like to be Mephibosheth growing up. Imagine what it would have been like for the kids in your neighborhood to know that your granddaddy used to be the king, but you ain't nothing. Imagine what it would have been like for people to know that your father should have been the next king, but God chose somebody else. Man, imagine what it should feel like for those of us whose grandmothers were sold off into slavery. Imagine what it must feel like for those of us whose grandfathers were torn away from our families. Imagine what it must feel like for us to not even know what our family lineage is, for us to not know who our real uncles and aunts and grandmamas and granddaddies and mamas and daddies. We're losing. We got to go to ancestry.com. We got to go through all these extra rigmarole. I'm from North Carolina. We got to go through all this extra rigmarole to even find out who we are. Imagine what it feels like to grow up your whole life feeling like somebody owed you something. Man, this is a story about justice. This is a story about what it's like when life is not fair to you. This is a story about what it's like when God finds it in his justice to do justice for you when other folks don't see you as necessary. God can find it in his justice to do justice for you when other folks have left you alone. God can find a way to do justice for you and give you what you rightfully deserve, put you back in the place, in the palace where you deserve to be. And then watch this, restore your dignity. Watch this. Watch what David does. He says, from now on, he's going to take all his meals at my table. Now, Ziba, all you and your family, y'all going to take care of him. But whenever he eats, whenever he's provided for, whenever it is that he gets nourishment, he's going to come and eat at my table. Yeah. Whenever it is that he eats some food, he going to eat at my table. I know I got all these other folks, all these dignitaries, but we're going to restore today the legacy and the life and the lineage of Saul today. Now, I don't know what y'all got to do. I don't know what y'all got to get together, but all I know is that when I eat, he going to eat. When I get ready to eat food at my table, he's not going to get no scraps. He's not going to get no leftovers. He going to eat at my table because he's in the legacy and lineage of a king. My God. And you know what I know? You know why it is? I believe that David would have seen this as important because real recognizes real. When it is that you know what God has put on the inside of you, you don't have a problem recognizing and giving credence to other folks who God loves too. Yeah, when you really recognize who God is in your life, it does never take anything away from you to honor somebody else. When you recognize who God is in your life, man, you can offer for people to come to your table who other people discount. You can offer for people to come to your table who other people see as lame. You can offer for people to come to your table. Man, because God has been good to you. He's made you to be a blessing to somebody else. My God, today, this is good to me. I hope y'all can see it. Now watch this. All that my master, the king, has ordered his servant, your servant will surely do. All of it. And it says Mephibosheth ate at David's table just like one of the royal family. Now, watch this. If Mephibosheth ate at David's table just like one of the royal family, I'm going to say it again. If Mephibosheth ate at David's table just like one of the royal family, it won't just about him eating. It won't just about him eating. When he showed up at the table, he looked like everybody too. When he showed up at the table, he was dressed and adorned like he was coming to eat. Did you ever grow up in somebody's house that said that, you know, before you come eat, you gotta go wash up? And if you was dirty and outside and all that kind of stuff, you can't bring that to the table. Yeah, that means that, hey, I don't care what Mephibosheth was doing in Lodebar. As of this day forward, when he come in here, he gonna look like us. I know that his daddy and his granddaddy, they know, you know what I'm saying, his legacy was interrupted and disturbed. His kids have never seen him of strong stature. His wife or whoever it is that's in his life, if he don't even say that he had no wife. My God, can you imagine? He had a small son named Micah. Watch this. Imagine what it's like now for Mephibosheth's son to see him elevated to royal places. Imagine what it must have been like for Mephibosheth to never even tell his son that he was royalty, because the son would have been like, well, daddy, if granddaddy was the king, why we living out here in Lodebar? Why we can't, you know, imagine what it was like, that kind of restoration in that household. Imagine what it was like for now Mephibosheth's son to dream about what he could do, what he could be. Imagine what it was like now for Mephibosheth's son Micah to imagine what he could do now that he realizes that his father ain't just some lame man. His father ain't just a person we gotta push around. His father ain't somebody that people gotta help get in the bed every day. His father ain't somebody that we gotta now push him to the shower and help him get showered. His father is no longer somebody that gotta be cared for. But now his father is somebody that the king is taking care of. Man, I'm telling you, I'm getting excited about this. If you know who your daddy is, you ain't got to worry about somebody else's handouts because your daddy has a place for you at the table. Yeah, if you know who your daddy is, it may be sometime that life does not treat you fair, but your daddy and your daddy's lineage has a way of making everything all right. If you know who your daddy is, my question to you is, who your daddy? Father's Day coming up. That's a good question for us to ask. Who's your daddy? Look, now when Micah, the small son of Mephibosheth, goes to school and plays on the playground, now guess what? Micah's chest is stuck out now, because I know who my daddy is. Yeah. Now at the playground, Micah used to sit on the sidelines and never try to play basketball, but now his courage jumps out of his chest because he knows who his daddy is. Oh, we at show and tell. Oh, it's daddy day. Come to school. Oh, it's now career day, and we're gonna bring our daddies. Micah ain't never brought his daddy to career day because he was afraid and embarrassed about his daddy, because his daddy's lame and ain't got two good feet. But now that Micah has a different understanding of who his daddy is, Micah gonna say, hey, I want my daddy to come, because ain't none of y'all daddy used to be a king. Ain't none of y'all daddy get to sit at David's table. Ain't none of y'all daddies get to be in royalty. Yeah, I know where I have been, but now I see where God can take me. Because sometimes life just ain't fair. But if you hold on, can I get some organ? If you hold on just a little while, your daddy has a way of making everything plain. If you hold on just a little while, I know you've been overlooked. I know you've been looked over. I know they passed over you for promotion. I know they ran your name in the mud. I know they really didn't know who you were, because if they knew who you were, they would have never opened their mouth about you. But now that God is sticking up for you in your life, now that God's light is shining down on you, somebody who you thought they didn't even really appreciate you, you thought they didn't know who you were, you thought that they discounted you, the king will call for you when it's time for you. And when the king calls for you, guess what? Ain't nobody ever gonna give you a problem again. Yeah, Jamila, cue up the organ. Pastor's excited. Look, life sometimes is not fair, but do the best you can anyhow. Now, this legacy of family is restored. This legacy of family is now put back in their proper place. They may not ever be kings again, but they're going to be treated like kings. They may not ever live in the palace, but they get to come to the palace whenever they want to. They may not ever be, Micah might not ever be a king. But guess what? He got kingly tendencies now. My daddy gets to eat at the king's table. Do you have kingly tendencies? I know you don't necessarily live in the palace, but do you have king's kid tendencies? I know that you don't necessarily drive the car that everybody else drives, but do you have king's kid tendencies? You know, king's kids, they carry themselves a certain kind of way. King's kids, that they know who it is and what it is they are. King's kids have a way of finding themselves in the midst of blessings, because when you know who you are, you act like who you really are. You know, you don't mess around with other kind of people. You don't look down at people now, because watch this. Imagine what would it have been like for Micah to have looked down on everybody else. Imagine what it would have been like for Mephibosheth to have grown up with his head blown up like he was better than everybody else. But in his life of humility, God made a way for Mephibosheth to be restored. He can restore you too. He can restore your family. He can restore your name. He can restore your future. Man, we serve a restoring God. What do you do when life is not fair? Do like Mephibosheth. Don't worry. You might have to live in Lodebar for a little while, but God's going to work it out. Yeah. Don't worry. You might have to have people taking care of you for a little while that don't really care for you, but God's going to work it out. Don't worry. Because when Mephibosheth came to David's table and he was just like one of the royal family, it's commonly said that when you look at the table, everybody looked alike. Why? Because when you rolled up under the table, something's covering your inefficiencies. When you rolled up to the table, Nobody's caring about Mephibosheth's feet now because all they know is of all the people in Jerusalem, he gets a seat at the table. Yeah, nobody cares about his shortcomings now because he gets a seat at the table. And no matter what your issue, no matter what your ism, your schism, your addiction, your problem, that thing that everybody sees about you is, when God gives you a seat at the table, he has a way of covering you. When God gives you a seat at the table, he has a way of making all things new. When God gives you a seat at the table, he does it in front of everybody so that everybody can say, hey, you know, this was the king's grandson that was lost, and now he's been found. God has a seat at the table for you. But the way you go through, depends on how you get to where God's taking you. Man, that was good. We'll try it again. The way you go through, depends on how you get to where God is taking you. I promise you, he's taking you somewhere. In this season where our eyes and our lenses are laser focused on justice, understand that life is not always going to be fair. But we got a God that has always been a righteous judge. We have a God that has a way of turning the tables around in our lives. We serve a God that in a moment's notice, somebody can call for us to put us back in the place where our legacy says we deserve to be. As we have these conversations about reparations, as we have these conversations about what it is to be fair, when we have these conversations about justice, don't get so over-consumed with the conversation that you forget who you are. Because if don't nobody ever put you in the place where you feel like you should be, God has a way of making all things plain. That's right. The way you go through depends on how you get to where God is taking you. I hope this hour has been worth it in your life. This is the hour of power. Join us tonight at 7 p.m. for our word and worship experience. The kids are showing up. It's time to go outside and work on this garden. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time. Remember to join us tonight as we walk through the word on Wednesday, 7 p.m., talking about the book of Esther, seeking justice for such a time as this. I hope you join us then. God bless you.